Though temperatures have been rising across Manitoba for the last few weeks, it doesn't mean we are in the clear when it comes to wintry weather. Environment and Climate Change Canada, ECCC, has issued snowfall warnings for several western Manitoba communities, including Roblin, Russell-Binscarth, and Riding Mountain National Park. The weather agency warns that wet snow will begin on Tuesday morning, intensifying throughout the day and night. The snow is expected to taper off by Wednesday morning. ECCC expects accumulations of 10 to 20 centimeters. However, snowfall totals will vary throughout the area. Drivers are being warned that snowfall can impact visibility, so be prepared for quickly changing travel conditions. If visibility is reduced while you are driving, slow down, watch for taillights ahead, and be prepared to stop. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says there have been successes at the Canada-US border, but is offering no new hints about what might convince US President Donald Trump to drop his tariffs on Canada. Leavitt says there has been a significant drop in the number of people illegally crossing into the US from Canada. Trump cited the flow of people and fentanyl across the border as his reason for hitting Canada with steep economy-wide tariffs in March. The president partially paused those duties a few days later for imports compliant with the Canada-US-Mexico Agreement on Trade. Imports that aren't compliant continue to be hit with 25% tariffs, with a lower 10% levy on energy and potash. U.S. Customs and Border Protection data shows a tiny volume of fentanyl is seized at the northern border. Calgary police are looking to the public for help identifying the person behind the wheel during a hit-and-run that injured a pedestrian. It happened at 10 p.m. on Thursday, January 30, 2025, as the victim was walking east in an alley in the 100 block of Rivercrest Circle Southeast. Police say a four-door sedan heading west sideswiped the pedestrian, but didn't stop. The victim was able to call for help and was taken to hospital with minor injuries. After exhausting all investigative avenues to identify the suspect and locate the vehicle, police are turning to the public in hopes of advancing the investigation, police said in a Monday news release. The vehicle is described as a white Volkswagen Jetta. Calgary police seek public assistance in identifying hit-and-run suspect and vehicle. CPS handout. Calgary police seek public assistance in identifying hit-and-run suspect and vehicle. CPS handout. Anyone with CCTV or dashcam footage of the incident, or who may have information about this incident, is asked to call police at 403-266-1234. Tips can also be left anonymously through Crime Stoppers. The latest projections from 338 Canada show the Conservatives making gains in British Columbia. On their map, the entire province is blue, save for the Lower Mainland and southern Vancouver Island. CPC encroaching on Vancouver from the east to pic.twitter.com/NLUM3 for QDKO. Table Salt Canadian, at Table Salt 13, April 21, 2025. According to 338 Canada, of BC's 43 ridings, 16 are either leaning, likely, or safe for the Conservatives. A further 10 are toss-ups between the Conservatives and Liberals, and in some cases the NDP. The Liberals, meanwhile, are either leaning, likely, or safe in 13 ridings, and the NDP fall into those categories in just one. The seats previously held by the NDP are split between the Conservatives and Liberals, though many are toss-ups. Perhaps most shocking is the riding of Saanich Gulf Islands, which has been a Green Party stronghold for years. Modelling from 338 Canada shows that seat, which had long been held by leader Elizabeth May, as a toss-up. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has spent a fair amount of time in BC during his campaign, visiting the province on 3 separate occasions. Liberal leader Mark Carney, on the other hand, has only visited the province once, and did not venture beyond the southwest corner. The Conservatives' apparent success in BC comes following a right-wing surge in the provincial election in October 2024. The BC Conservatives flipped a number of ridings to become the official opposition, nearly beating the BC NDP to form government. Liberal leader Mark Carney chose the location of UPEI's not yet completed Faculty of Medicine to make his campaign pitch about protecting the Canadian healthcare system. Flanked by PEI Liberal candidates Sean Casey, Kent MacDonald, Bobby Morrissey, and Heath MacDonald, Carney pledged to work with provinces and territories to improve primary care access and to spend billions of dollars on healthcare infrastructure projects. Trending. Kings County RCMP expect to spend days searching property where firearms found. For firearms search story. Pediatric Ian closing clinic after 2 years of unpaid work, says health PEI left him no choice. Dr. Jovan Vuksic stands outside his Charlottetown clinic where he has been seeing children with ADHD, autism, and other complex needs. The clinic will close in June, but he plans to continue supporting his 80 patients virtually through telehealth. Cape Breton man charged with assaulting woman, killing dog with tire iron. Scales of justice. As St. John's actor Mark Critch is honored for 30 years of work, he answers 20 questions. Mark Critch and Tim McAuliffe. PEI man gets jail for threatening to kill bank employee, other offenses. Stock photo of Charlottetown Provincial Courthouse. Article content. Specifically, Carney said the Liberal election platform includes a $4 billion commitment to help build and renovate community clinics, long-term care homes and other health facilities. We know that hospitals and clinics have been closing when the needs in the healthcare system are growing. We have to reverse this trend and increase access to team-based care, Carney said. The federal Liberals have pledged to cut in half the fares on the Wood Islands Ferry while also reducing tolls on the Confederation Bridge from $50 to $20. Liberals pledged to lower Confederation Bridge tolls to $20, cut ferry tolls in half. Former Egmont MP Gail Shea is invited on stage by Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre during a campaign rally in Borton-Carlton on April 1. Poilievre opens PEI rally with pledge to remove Confederation Bridge tolls. The federal government has already made nearly $20 million in investments to the capital costs of UPEI's new Faculty of Medicine building. The new satellite campus of Memorial University's Faculty of Medicine is due to enroll its first class of 20 medical students in August. PEI, like other provinces, is facing a severe shortage of primary caregivers. More than 37,000 PEI residents lack access to a family doctor or nurse practitioner. Rainfall warning. Issued at Friday 3:40 a.m. April 25, 2025. Issued by Environment and Climate Change Canada. Description. Rain at times heavy this weekend. What? Rainfall amounts ranging from 25 to 40 mm are expected with up to 50 mm locally. When? From Friday evening until Sunday morning. Where? Western Quebec, from Temiskaming to Parc du Mont-Tremblant. Additional information. The rain will contribute to accelerated snowmelt in areas where snow is still present, as well as a significant increase in the flow and level of some rivers. ####. Localized flooding in low-lying areas is possible. Rainfall warnings are issued when significant rainfall is expected. Please continue to monitor alerts and forecasts issued by Environment Canada. To report severe weather, send an email to qstorm@ec.gc.ca or post reports on X using #QCStorm. Recommended action. Watch for possible washouts near rivers, creeks, and culverts. The police shot and killed a man at Toronto Pearson International Airport on Thursday morning after he brandished a firearm, setting off a partial shutdown of the airport's largest terminal, the authorities said. Officers from Peel Regional Police, the agency in charge of policing the airport, were called to investigate a 30-year-old man described as being in distress who was parked in an SUV outside the Terminal 1 departures area, the authorities said. Airport security was already at the curbside when police officers arrived to find 2 or 3 people involved in a dispute, Peel Police Chief Nishan Duriyapa told reporters. The nature of the dispute was unknown. Abruptly, one of the individuals produced a firearm at our officers, Chief Duriyapa said, adding that the man pointed his gun at the police. 2 police officers on the scene fired at him, he said. The authorities have not identified the man, who died in hospital. No officers were injured. The Special Investigations Unit, an oversight body in Ontario that is called after episodes in which police action results in death or injury, is investigating, said Christy Dennett, a spokeswoman. The airport authority had warned travelers to expect delays in Terminal 1 and has rerouted people to enter and exit through the arrivals area. In February, the airport was the scene of a major incident when a Delta Airlines passenger jet flipped after landing. Though several of the 76 passengers and 4 crew members on board were injured, all were able to evacuate the plane. A high-risk sex offender who went on the run a day after being released into a Vancouver halfway house has been rearrested by police. On April 17, the Vancouver Police Department warned the public about Hayden McCorriston, 30, as he was released from custody and living at a Vancouver halfway house. McCorriston was convicted of sexually assaulting multiple women in Vancouver and Burnaby back in 2022. He's currently serving a 3-year, 2-month jail sentence for 5 counts of sexual assault, break-in-enter, failure to comply with an undertaking, assaulting a peace officer, possession of property obtained by crime, mischief, robbery, indecent acts, assault, and assault by choking. One day after being released into society, a Canada-wide warrant was issued for him as he did not return to his halfway house on Homer Street in Vancouver. He was last seen leaving the halfway house at 10:25 a.m. on April 18. Police believed he had traveled to the downtown east side. Police believe he violated the conditions of his release and took deliberate steps to avoid being located, said Sergeant Steve Addison. Police received a tip from a person who saw McCorriston near Granville and Robson Streets on April 21. Officers from VPD's Chronic Offender Unit found him and returned him to jail. Under his release conditions, he is not to consume drugs or alcohol, has a curfew from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., and is not allowed to enter a licensed establishment. McCorriston must report all intimate sexual and non-sexual relationships and friendships with females to his parole supervisor. Guilty in 2022. As previously reported by the Burnaby Now, McCorriston pleaded guilty to a series of gropings at Burnaby's Metrotown Mall and a laundry list of other crimes in Burnaby, Vancouver, and Campbell River. He pleaded guilty to a total of 15 charges. 10 of them relate to a 4-day crime spree in Burnaby and Vancouver that included 5 sexual assaults, 1 indecent act, 1 assault by choking, 2 other assaults and 1 robbery, all between March 31 and April 3. The 5 other charges, for mischief, break-in-enter, assault of a police officer, possession of stolen property and breach of a release order, were for incidents in Campbell River in January. Rainfall warning. Issued at Friday 3:42 p.m. May 2, 2025. Issued by Environment and Climate Change Canada. Description. Rain, at times heavy, is expected. Locations: Western Nova Scotia. Total rainfall, 50 to 70 millimeters. Time span, Saturday evening until Sunday morning. Remarks: an approaching low-pressure system will bring rain at times heavy to Nova Scotia beginning Saturday evening. Rainfall warnings will likely be extended east along the Atlantic coast of Nova Scotia with the next update. ###. Localized flooding in low-lying areas is possible. Rainfall warnings are issued when significant rainfall is expected. Please continue to monitor alerts and forecasts issued by Environment Canada. To report severe weather, send an email to nstorm@ec.gc.ca or post reports on X using #NSStorm. Description. The town of Athabasca will be conducting street sweeping in your neighborhood on Saturday, May 3 between 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. Please move vehicles off the street and clear driveway pads to help our crews work safely and efficiently. If you have any questions, call the town office at 7806-752-063 between 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Thanks for your cooperation. Rainfall warning. Issued at Friday 3:42 p.m. May 2, 2025. Issued by Environment and Climate Change Canada. Description. Rain at times heavy this weekend. What? Rain with total amounts of 25 to 40 millimeters expected. When? From Saturday morning to Sunday. Where? Les Escoumins and Chaleur Bay. Additional information. Rain will contribute to accelerated snowmelt in areas with any remaining snow cover, as well as a significant increase in the flow and level of some streams and rivers. ###. Localized flooding in low-lying areas is possible. Rainfall warnings are issued when significant rainfall is expected. Please continue to monitor alerts and forecasts issued by Environment Canada. To report severe weather, send an email to qstorm@ec.gc.ca or post reports on X using #QCStorm. Recommended action. Watch for possible washouts near rivers, creeks, and culverts. Flood. Issued at Saturday 1:53 p.m. May 3, 2025. Issued by Manitoba EMO. Description: This is a Manitoba emergency alert. Manitoba Transportation and Infrastructure's Hydrologic Forecast Centre has issued an overland flood watch due to snowmelt and recent precipitation for parts of southwest Manitoba. A system is forecast to bring up to 20 mm of additional precipitation early next week for parts of western and southwestern Manitoba. Up-to-date information is available at www.gov.mb.ca/flooding and www.manitoba511.ca. Recommended action: If you are in the affected area, be mindful of local waterways as flooding is likely to occur. Do not attempt to cross fast-flowing waters or waters of unknown depth. Avoid flooded areas. Follow all directions by the local authorities. Listen for updates and take all necessary precautions to stay safe. Area description: Parts of western and southwestern Manitoba, along the Saskatchewan border between the RM of Roblin and RM of Pipestone. The Toronto Police Service is making the public aware of a sexual assault or distraction theft investigation following incidents that occurred at local commercial stores in the Scarborough area. It is reported that on June 19, 2024, at approximately 3:45 p.m., the suspects entered a store in the Mounch Avenue and Lamb Avenue area. One of the suspects approached the owner and sexually assaulted them while the second suspect stole their wallet containing a quantity of cash. It is further reported that on June 20, 2024, at approximately 3:30 p.m., the suspects entered a store in the St. Clair Avenue and Kingston Road area. One of the suspects approached the owner and sexually assaulted them while the other suspect stole a quantity of cash. It is further reported that on March 13, 2025, at approximately 3:30 p.m., the suspects entered a store in the Danforth Road and Midland Avenue area. One of the suspects approached the owner and sexually assaulted them while the other suspect stole a quantity of cash. It is further reported that on April 19, 2025, at approximately 5 p.m., the suspects entered a store in the Midwest Road and Midland Avenue area. One of the suspects approached an employee in the store and sexually assaulted them, while the other suspect stole a quantity of cash. It is further reported that on April 22, 2025, at approximately 3:30 p.m., the suspects entered a store in the Danforth Road and Danforth Avenue area. One of the suspects sexually assaulted the owner while the other suspect stole a quantity of cash. The suspects are believed to be the same in each of the above incidents. On each occasion the suspects are seen traveling in a dark-colored Audi sedan or SUV. Suspect number 1, female, olive skin, medium build, with long black hair. Suspect number 2, female, thin build, olive skin with long black hair. Suspect number 3, female, medium build, olive skin, with long black hair. Images have been released. Anyone with information is asked to contact police at 416-808-4100, Crime Stoppers anonymously at 416-222, TIPS, 8477, or at www.222tips.com. A sexual assault is any form of unwanted sexual contact. It includes, but is not limited to, kissing, grabbing, oral sex and penetration. To learn more about sexual assault, including how to report a sexual assault or get support in the community, please visit yourchoice.to. Crews were called to a fully engulfed house fire early Friday morning. In a post on X, Halifax's Firefighters Union said that teams responded at 3:40 a.m. to a home on McCabe Lake Drive in Middle Sackville. Crews from Station 10 responded in 8 minutes to a house lit up by flames and with thick black smoke in the air. Shortly after, a second alarm to dispatch additional crews was called, and support came from Bedford, Fall River, Upper Tantallon, and Mount Uniacke. Firefighters remain on scene. People are being asked to avoid the area. Rainfall warning. Issued at Saturday 5:23 a.m. May 3, 2025. Issued by Environment and Climate Change Canada. Description: Rainfall, combined with melting snow, is expected. What? An additional 5 to 15 millimeters of rain is possible today, with the highest amounts expected for areas east of Sudbury. When? Continuing today. Additional information. Rain, at times mixed with wet snow, will end from west to east this afternoon. For information concerning flooding, please consult your local conservation authority or Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources office. Visit ontario.ca/floods for the latest details. ###. Localized flooding in low-lying areas is possible. Please continue to monitor alerts and forecasts issued by Environment Canada. To report severe weather, send an email to onstorm@ec.gc.ca or post reports on X using #ONStorm. Recommended action. Watch for possible washouts near rivers, creeks, and culverts. 2025 hurricane names. R for the Atlantic names. Andrea, Barry, Chantal, Dexter, Erin, Fernand, Gabrielle, Umberto, Imelda, Jerry, Karen, Lorenzo, Melissa, Nesta, Olga, Pablo, Rebecca, Sebastian, Tanya, Van, Wendy. Since 1953, Atlantic tropical storms had been named from lists originated by the National Hurricane Center. They are now maintained and updated through a strict procedure by an international committee of the World Meteorological Organization. The 6 lists above are used in rotation and recycled every 6 years, i.e., the 2023 list will be used again in 2029. The only time that there is a change in the list is if a storm is so deadly or costly that the future use of its name for a different storm would be inappropriate for reasons of sensitivity. If that occurs, then at an annual meeting by the WMO committee, called primarily to discuss many other issues, the offending name is stricken from the list and another name is selected to replace it. Several names have been retired since the lists were created. Here is more information on the history of naming tropical cyclones and retired names. If a storm forms during the off-season, it will take the next name in the list based on the current calendar date. For example, if a tropical cyclone formed on December 28, it would take the name from the previous season's list of names. If a storm formed in February, it would be named from the subsequent season's list of names. In the event that more than 21 named tropical cyclones occur in the Atlantic Basin in a season, any additional storms will take names from an alternate list of names approved by the WMO. Here are the pronunciation guides for the Atlantic Basin. Saskatoon. The black concrete walls outside Saskatoon's only safe consumption site show the wake left by the city's drug crisis. The names of those who've died, most from drug poisoning, are scrawled on the Prairie Harm Reduction building. Kim Randall, the Director of Support Services, points to the name of a woman who went by Baby Sis. She died in January. She worked for us for years, Randall told the Canadian press. It was really a hard hit to the community. Support worker Vern Keeper lost his partner, Charity, 5 years ago. Her name is also on the wall. Every day, 2 or 3 overdoses. Thank God we get there on time for many of them, Keeper said. Prairie Harm Reduction, located outside downtown, has been battered by the crisis in Saskatchewan's largest city. A highly toxic batch of drugs, some with light pink or dark purple pills, infiltrated Saskatoon in January. Kayla DeMong, the organization's executive director, said more names were added to the walls in the last month. I have an envelope in my office full of funeral cards. We used to hang them up. I can't look at them anymore, she said, wiping away tears. The drop-in center recently reopened after briefly closing to give staff a break. Its safe consumption room remains closed until DeMong hires a new paramedic, a requirement for operations to continue. The last paramedic burnt out and quit. Signs in the center encourage people to carry naloxone, test their drugs and not use alone. Clients come and go, grabbing a coffee or food. They sit on couches, chat, and watch television. They also gather outside, where some use substances. Staff check in to see if they are okay. Joseph Littlecrow said he blacked out while smoking fentanyl a month ago outside the building. The 47-year-old said firefighters were called and gave him 3 doses of naloxone, a medication that reverses overdoses, and oxygen. They also resuscitated a younger woman he met that day. Little Crow woke up to people staring at him. He said he was angry. "I didn't fear if I lived or died. I kind of wanted to die. But I really am thankful, I'm alive," he said. He said he sometimes sleeps on the streets at night. "I was sober 2 years straight, like sober. But it's been a struggle ever since now," Little Crow said. The crisis has been far-reaching, affecting first responders who've dealt with a spike in calls. The public also sees it. 2 of the city's libraries closed because of more overdoses inside the facilities and violence towards staff. The Dr. Frieda Ahenakew and Francis Morrison Central Libraries are expected to fully reopen April 21st, with more security and protocols in place. "It became a point where it was difficult for us to manage as a library," said Saskatoon Public Library CEO Carol Shepstone. Data from Saskatoon's Emergency Operations Centre shows firefighters have gone to 901 drug poisoning calls since January, with more than half of those occurring in March. At this time last year, they went to 352. The Saskatchewan Coroner's Service has reported 7 confirmed overdose deaths in the city this year. Across Saskatchewan, there have been 16 confirmed deaths. Officials say 76 are suspected to be overdose-related. Driving around downtown and Riverdale, Dwayne Jobson of the Saskatoon Fire Department said he's never seen anything like it in his 32-year career. "What word should I use? Ridiculous. Overwhelming," the battalion chief said. The naloxone wasn't working right away. Some of the drugs on the street were quite strong and almost resistant. "We were seeing paralysis on people. Along the streets and alleyways, and behind churches, apartments, and near a hospital, people meander between homes, from boarded up to newly built. Others sit together on sidewalks with their belongings." He waves at those he drives by. "You hear terms like, 'These people are living on the streets.' It's more like they're surviving," Jobson said. "All of us have empathy for these people. We are just there to help." Pamela Gooden-McLeod, the fire department's director of emergency management, said the city is starting to see fewer overdose calls, but they remain above average. The Emergency Operations Centre has been working with the provincial government to supply more naloxone and paramedics. Activated in March, it also has been collecting data to see where overdoses are happening and who they are affecting. "What we desperately need is data about the demographics, data that will help identify gaps in what the processes are, data that will help us drive planning for how to address this issue and not just respond to this issue," Gooden-McLeod said. Mayor Cynthia Block said Saskatoon needs more housing, including units with supportive services. She said the first phase of a new supportive housing facility is expected to open this year, and that other projects are in the planning phase. But she added 2 winter warming shelters recently closed, something that happens every year. "We seem to not learn that doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result isn't working," Block said. She said the city and the province need to work out a partnership where Saskatchewan steps up on housing. "It's not a winter issue. It is 24/7, 365 days a year until we can get our full housing spectrum back up and running," Block said. "I'm very supportive of the province's recovery model, but housing has to be the first step when people are trying to survive on the streets." DeMong said prairie harm reduction also plays a role by meeting people where they are at, saving lives and alleviating calls first responders would otherwise have to go to. "If we were to properly invest in housing, in health care,